Moore Law is underwritten in the public interest by the Moore Law Firm, a legal professional association. This is Moore Law on Fox 19.
Good morning and welcome to Moore Law. Today we're talking about purchasing insurance. There's a lot you need to know about the insurance you carry. One example, when it comes to minimum insurance amounts, some of the laws are changing. So what happens if you're in an accident and the new limits still aren't enough? Do you really know what you have? If you have a question about purchasing insurance, give us a call at 513-421-4691. And today, Dan Moore, you're here.
That's it.
Happy New Year's. Is our New Year's resolution?
Well, you know, I have a burning question, not an insurance question for you, but are you keeping up with your New Year's resolutions? Have you broken any yet?
Well, I have to make them first before I can break them. I'm quite sure
I thought we were going to get some good dirt on you this morning.
I wish I had thought about that before.
All right. Well, we have a nice guest this morning. Insurance is one of these topics that no one wants to talk about. And it's a topic that, as lawyers, we see the after effects of people's decisions all the time. And we have this morning...
people's poor decisions?
That's exactly right. And Barry Rothschild's with us this morning. We're happy to have him. Barry, good to see you.
Thanks, Dan. Good to be here.
Thanks for coming in.
And Barry, just for the viewers, Barry went to Finneytown High School. He went to OSU for undergrad, and he also went to OSU for law school. So Barry's an Ohio man through and through.
That's true. Go Bucks.
Well, awesome. Well, you know, let's start off by talking just a little bit about, we were speaking before the show. You said that I said, what's the one thing people need to know about insurance? And you said?
Uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. Most people, when they think about buying insurance, they have a tendency to think about buying liability coverage. If you go to your general agent and you say, I need to buy an insurance policy, he's going to focus on the liability coverage. I think that's the improper way to buy insurance coverage here in Ohio and probably every other state. The one thing that you as an Ohio consumer should focus on is purchasing uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. When you buy that coverage from the insurance company, you automatically get liability coverage because you cannot buy uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage without it. The contrary is not true. You can, unfortunately, buy liability coverage and either purchase less coverage for yourself or no coverage at all, and that's a problem.
And you said you all have seen this in both of your lines of work.
Yeah, exactly. And just for folks who aren't familiar with the insurance lingo, uninsured motorist coverage is the coverage that you buy to protect you against somebody who's not insured when they hit you. So they're breaking the law by not having insurance, but a lot of people do it. I saw a stat the other day, it's like 1 in 7 or something like that, people who aren't insured. Underinsured is similar to that, and that protects you against somebody who doesn't buy enough insurance to insure you for your injuries that they cause you. So those are things that come into play in very many cases. You can have a serious injury very quickly in an auto crash and surpass somebody's insurance coverage that they purchased, and you want to use yours to help with that.
And you all were saying that by the time they come to you, often it's just too late. I mean, You can't go back and retroactively buy this kind of insurance.
That's correct. This is a proactive show this morning because we're trying to educate the consumer on what to do before that accident happens. After the accident has happened, it's too late. Whatever coverages you had in place at the time of that accident are going to control the accident collision effects. The same thing holds true with the person who may have caused the accident. You are going to be relying upon whatever coverages were in effect for that person. So after the accident occurs, it's absolutely too late. There's nothing that can be done, although I've seen many situations, Deb, where people try to purchase coverage 30 minutes, an hour, a day after the accident and say it applies.
Never works.
It never works.
Right, okay. Let's go to the phone. First we have Delia in Waynesville. Good morning.
Good morning.
And your question about insurance?
I have a 16-year-old son who just got his driver's license. Is it better to get him bonded or cover him on my car insurance, and what is the difference?
Well,
I'm going to need to know this pretty soon too, so please.
Go ahead, Barry, you start.
That'd be fine. Thank you, Delia. My perspective on buying insurance versus buying a bond is it's night and day. When you buy an insurance bond, which is the minimum requirement that the state of Ohio has, all you are doing is protecting the other person, the person who caused the accident, the person who's not at fault. You're protecting that individual. when you buy an insurance policy, you are also buying these uninsured or underinsured coverages. Those are the exact type of coverages that we're talking about. A state bond is going to provide the bare minimum liability coverage. Currently, that will be $12,500 per person, $25,000 per accident for injury, and $7,500 for property damage. Now, those numbers will change, but that is what a bond will provide. There is no coverage for uninsured and underinsured. There is no collision coverage for your son or your daughter's own vehicle. It is night and day. If you have the option and the choice, buy the insurance policy, not the bond.
Yeah, there really is no question about this. I mean, if you hear the term bond, and if you have somebody trying to push that on you, forget about it. Don't buy the bond. The only situation you want the bond is if you have a situation where you've got a bad driving record, you've had DUIs in your past, and you can't get a traditional insurance policy. That's the only time you want a bond. In every situation, otherwise, you want that insurance policy because you can get, in addition to the underinsured, uninsured motorist coverage, you're going to get medical payments, which is going to protect you and help with your medical bills immediately after the crash, irrespective if that crash is your fault. So there's all kinds of coverages in there that you want to get in a traditional insurance policy that a bond just can't offer.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dan. We will be right back. Again, we're talking purchasing insurance. Give us a call, 513-421-4691.
Welcome back to More Law on Fox 19, your legal questions live, with local broadcaster and award-winning reporter Deb Haas and Cincinnati personal injury attorney Don Moore, recognized by Ohio Super Lawyers. More answers, more help, more law on Fox 19.
Welcome back. We have Dan Moore actually with us today, and our guest, Barry Rothschild. Thanks again for being here.
You're welcome.
All right, we have a lot of calls to get to, so let's head back to that right now. We want to start with Larry in Fort Wright. Larry, what I'm told is that you're a senior citizen on a fixed income, and your question relates to that?
Yes. Since I've retired and everything, I shopped around and found a policy that's it's cheaper, and I just carry liability. I have two vehicles, and I just carry liability, but I do carry uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. And I get offers all the time about other insurance companies want to sell me insurance, but it usually ends up their premiums are about twice as high. And I would just wonder, I have like $250,000 maximum coverage on the accident, and I've got all the medical and all that, but I wanted to find out, am I insured properly?
Well, Larry, that's a question that really what somebody will want to do is take a look at your paperwork that you have on your insurance policy and see what kind of specific coverage it is. Sounds like you have uninsured coverage. Sounds like you have liability coverage, and it may be $250,000 a piece. Other things you want to look for: do you have medical payments insurance under that policy? You do have no fault in Kentucky. That's usually $10,000. You can put medical payments on top of no fault. That's an idea to think about to provide you a little additional coverage. There is really no hard answer what's enough coverage. Usually the advice that I give somebody is buy the amount of coverage that you can afford. $250,000 is a pretty good number for a lot of folks. If the next step up really is to buy an additional insurance policy called an umbrella policy that would provide coverage over and above that. Those are usually pretty cheap. You can get those for several $100s a year. If you want to look into that, you want to make sure that the umbrella policy has something in it called an endorsement for uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage, because a lot of them now aren't selling with that coverage. So it can get pretty complicated. What you want to do is sit down with an agent and talk to them about what you want and what you can afford. The max coverage that you can afford is really what you want to get. There really is no hard answer to this question, but $250,000, that's a heck of a lot more than.
Well, that's good, because he's always yelling at me about what I have. So
I know.
We want to go back. Let's see, we have Darren in Harrison. Darren, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. My question was to the attorneys alluded to the uninsured and underinsured insurance. My question would be, what would they consider adequate coverage amounts under each of these categories? And also included in that would be like the medical payments.
Okay. You certainly don't think the minimum is enough.
Absolutely not. The minimum is grossly inadequate. And we'll get to a stat here in a little bit how the minimum in Ohio has changed. But right now, the state minimum coverage in Ohio, as of today, is $12,500 per person, $25,000 per accident for injury coverage. That applies to uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage as well. That is very minimal, inadequate coverage in my opinion. You can certainly check with an agent, but my personal opinion, and I tell this to my clients when they come into my office and I have this discussion upon initial intake, at that point in time it is too late for me to address the coverages that they had in place for that accident, but I tell them that they need to go out and address that in the public. The minimum that I tell them, I say this is the Barry Rothschild minimum. Now, does this mean that you can buy less? Sure it does. Does it mean that you can buy more? Absolutely. But I tell those clients that the minimum coverage they should have is no less than $100,000 per person, $300,000 per accident. Now, that is nowhere written in any legal book or nowhere written in any formula or situation as a guarantee, but that is my personal opinion, that you should carry coverage equal to or greater than that amount for liability and especially for uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. As far as medical payment coverage goes, because that was a part of your question as well, that tends to be based more or less upon whether you have health insurance or not. I find that clients who have health insurance can afford to purchase a lesser sum of medical payment coverage than those who don't have health insurance. When you don't have health insurance, the chances are if you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, you may incur sizable medical bills. So without health insurance, I would say purchase significant medical payment coverage, maybe a minimum of $25,000. But if you have health insurance coverage, you can purchase a lesser amount of med pay and you're probably okay.
Okay, thanks for that. Now, Dan, this is probably a good time. You wanted to show the viewers some information. I think we have a graphic for that.
Yeah, we had a graphic we wanted to show to kind of go through the changes in the laws. We have, in Ohio, a new limit coming into effect. We have $25,000 per person, $50,000 per crash, and $25,000 for property damage. As Barry said, right now it's $12,500 per person, $25,000 per crash, and $75,000 for property damage. So this is a very large increase. It's doubling what the minimum is. It's going to take effect in December of 2013. And it's something that is long overdue in Ohio. We've been stuck in the lower stages for decades now. So it's something that I'm very happy about, and it's going to benefit those who really don't know anything about insurance and just says, give me the bare minimum.
Right.
They're going to get twice as much. So the next thing that we've got is a law change. It's called the intra-family exclusion. This is a very complicated issue in insurance policies, but essentially what it says is when you're in a crash with your family members in the car and you're driving and your family members are injured, they have no claim under the auto policy that you've purchased. They can't make a claim because of the intra-family exclusion. Now, what the law now says, and this will take effect in March 2013, is that the wrongful death case, if you unfortunately would have to and be involved in a crash where one of your family member dies, then the intra-family exclusion doesn't apply. So what does that mean for the average person driving around? That means that your family member or the family member's relatives will be able to make a claim under the insurance policy and recover. The intra-family exclusion still applies for injuries. So if the person is just injured and it's your family member, then they still can't make a claim under the auto policy. It really depends on what policy you're talking about. Looking at your policy, some policies have the intra-family exclusion, some don't. It's important to review that, make sure you know what you have.
Okay, great. Let us take a break right now. We'll be back talking about purchasing insurance. 513-421-4691.